and welcome back to this second episode. Today we're actually going to isolate the image by Junichi Shimazaki. The first thing that I learned with GIMP was if I tried to cut out an entire image, it wouldn't save it all to the clipboard. I'm going to just see if that's true because they've upgraded a few things. So I'm working on my saved image, that's good. So if I wreck it, I can start again from the thing. I'm just going to use a very simple and brutal cut. Now what I want to see is if all of that went to the clipboard, because when I first started using GIMP about 2012, if you had a big image like this and you cut out anything more than 520 pixels in width or height, you wouldn't get the entire image. So let's just head over to our clipboard, which I think is here. And what we're going to do is see if I got more than, oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. So as you can see, I've got quite a small, only a small portion of my image has come back. So this is an important thing to know with GIMP. GIMP has a limited size on the clipboard, and actually it looks like it's 1024 pixels. So we're just going to Control Z everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink my my image down to 1024. Now generally before you do this, it's a good idea to write down, so you get a scale image, write down the original dimensions of your image, because you're going to want to put it back to the same size it was when you started. So in this case I'm looking at a width of 3770 by a height of 2121. Okay. When I've finished isolating the image, I'm going to want to put the entire image back up to those dimensions. In the meantime, I'm looking at the clipboard image and I'm seeing 1024. So if you have a look over here, all right, in the top right hand corner where I'm moving the cursor, you can see that it's 1024. Yeah. So we're going to take the longest side. In this case, that's the width. We're going to go 1024. And that's going to automatically scale. As long as you don't break the chain, that will automatically scale the other side down. So we'll scale that down. Then we're going to use our magnifying glass, because there is no way in Hades I'm going to attempt to cut that out at that size. We might also want to zoom in rather than zooming out. So over here is where your magnifying glass controls are. You have zoom in, you have zoom out. So we're going to zoom it in. And I'm actually going to go quite fine and just start. Now this is just a job of tracing. You can see by the way the pixels are that there is no way that I could actually isolate this image using the pixel selection method. However, if you're buying artwork, and something I will do now that I'm aware of this particular trick, if you're buying artwork, you can buy some of your images on a white background. If you buy them on a white background and there's not a lot of white in the image, you are then going to be able to isolate your image using your pixel selection tool rather than this method, which tends to take a lot more. I'm actually just wondering, let me just go over here to select none. All right. What I was worried about was that little dotted line that was flashing along the top of the screen. I wasn't sure that if I cut everything out, that anything above or below that line, anything above the line would actually come through. So basically, I'm using a left click every time one of those little circles appears on the image. I'm using a left click to create it. Just move that down and round. these are all non-exclusive images too, so if you see any of the images that I'm using that you particularly like and you'd like to use it for your own artwork, go on, I'll put the links to the artists and to the images in the what do you call it, down in the description, and you should be able to click on those and you can go and purchase that art from Dreamstime. Please purchase it. Please do not use it without purchasing it. Artists need to make a living. This is how they do it. So if you appreciate their artwork and you'd like to use it in your work, please pay for it. It's just the same request that I make with if you like to read my work. Please pay for it, because that enables me to do things like pay the power bill, buy artwork that I can use in my covers, and in general feed my kids. So artists, if you wish to use the artwork, please go and use the link below and make sure you pay them for the time that they've spent creating for your benefit. So basically GIMP is freeware. It's a good little product. It's a little bit counterintuitive at times, but I've seen massive improvements in how well in just how well it can be used over the last few years. I think the only improvement that I haven't liked is the one you saw before, where I had to change the color before I got to see the results. That was kind of disappointing. I may actually end up cutting this part here out, but I'm going to try and capture that slight blue flare coming from the engines, and we shall see what we shall see. So looking at my all right. To be honest, I actually love Junichi's work. It's always so clean. It's easy to work with. And he has actually a big variety of spaceships to choose from. So some of you might be wondering why I do my own covers when I'm not actually supposedly a cover artist. And that would be because when I first started out, I had no budget at all for publishing. It was just something I wanted to do. I wanted to write and I wanted to share my stories. And my choice was I could write and leave my stories sitting in a closet when no one was ever going to see them, or I could learn how to do covers using the tools available. And that's what I did. So my first covers are nothing really to write home about. And I'm thinking I may have improved a little bit over time as I got the practice going. So the reason I'm putting these covers up is A, because I'm sure there's more than just me out there who would like to work out how to use GIMP or how to do their own covers. And B, because it's just nice to share the process. And C, because this book is being re-released. So it was a good opportunity to kind of be able to show off the work of the cover of the illustrators that I work with, or whose work I purchase. Sorry, rather than work with. That's a poor choice of words. And also give you an idea of what it takes to do a cover for a book. It's not hard, but it's not easy either. And for those of you who are in a similar situation where you can't afford $450, £550, $150 US or Aust or whatever for a cover, there are other alternatives. The downside to it though is that it does take out your writing time. So you're going to have to work out what you need the most, and what you can afford to do time-wise as well as budget-wise. So working out your covers, this is just how I do it. And once you've got your outline done, you can grab your magnifying glass wherever it's gone. It's exactly where I left it. Hit your zoom out. Just be aware that the image is going to move slightly towards wherever you're clicking. So if you're clicking here, the image is going to go that way. If you click here, it'll go down. So I want mine to just go up a bit. Don't go nuts clicking, otherwise you'll lose the entire thing. Oops. That was unexpected. Alright, I'm just going to scroll down using the scroll button. Now that we have it highlighted, we're going to go Edit. We're going to go Cut. You can also Control X, very much as you would do in Word. We're going to go up to our clipboard, grab the image by clicking it with the left mouse button and holding that down. We're going to drag that clipboard image over. We're going to release it. We're going to go back to our Move tool, make sure that's highlighted. Click and hold with the left mouse button and just fill in the hole so that you've got that sitting exactly where it was sitting before, or as best you can. Once you've done that, you're going to say, well, what's the point of cutting all that out? The point is this: you can close the background, you've got your alpha channel, and you've got your dropped buffer. The next thing you do, now I can't rename this. I don't think. Let's try duplicating it. No, okay. Control Z. I can't rename it. If I could, I would, because then I could actually have Spaceship 13 up on the dropped buffer, because that's what you're going to see. So what we'll do is we're going to go File, Save. We're going to go back to our image. Don't forget this step where you're going to have a ridiculously small starship on your screen when you put it in. Going to go Image, where is it? Scale Image, and we're going to put those original proportions in. So it was 3770, and we'll see if this flips up. Yep, to 2121. We go Scale. Now it fills our screen, and you can always zoom out if you wish to, but I'm actually just going to go File, Save, and close it. This is the other thing about the latest version of GIMP, is you can now have several of your images open to work with, but instead of having them down the bottom of your screen, where you have to click on each one individually and each one looks like a different instance of GIMP, you've actually got them all at the top in this clever little hotbar, which makes it so much easier to work with. So this is what we're going for. This is where we're at. The other thing you'll notice is that the image for the dragon, the outline for the image, is actually outside the cover. I don't trim those until the very last step, because if I trim it now and I decide to move my dragon across, I'm actually not going to have any of this portion of the picture to move. And that could be bad if I wanted to move him, say, to the center, because if I'd trimmed him, I would have lost his wing. So I don't trim my images until I'm happy with their placing. So we're going to go File, we're going to go Open as Layer, Spaceship 13 Isolated 2. As you can see, it's a little bit big. So we're going to highlight that. We're going to grab a shrink tool. Where is it? Actually, what I'm going to do first, this layer and this layer are exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. I'm going to go down to here. I'm going to go Merge Down. That did not work very well at all. Control Z. Okay, I don't know why it did not merge into the invisible layer, but there you go. That's irritating. Alright, in that case I'm just going to get rid of the invisible layer. go up to our dropped buffer, and then we're going to shrink it. So there's two ways you can do it. You can go straight into the layer and you can scale it in here, or you can use a more visual method and you can go, I always lose them. Okay, that's the rotate. Okay, there's your scale tool. And with the scale tool, you make sure the layer you want to scale is highlighted. Click on the layer, grab the little box in the corner and shrink it down. Pardon me. Once you have done that, it won't do it automatically. You need to go up to this little box here, hit scale, and now you have a shrunken starship, which is, I have to say, very different to a drunken starship. Right. I know that's just irritating. Why is it doing that? Because it's given me a floating. What you don't want is a floating selection. That's really annoying. So what I'm going to do is just check my layer size again, because sometimes GIMP will do this. You'll get a floating selection instead of just the layer being selected, and I find it really irritating and inconvenient. 1006 is what we shrank it to. Let's just Control Z and hopefully that floating transformation will go away. We're going to grab our layer, we're going to scale it, and we're going to try and scale it in here and hopefully avoid that nasty floating selection. There we go. Right, so if you scale it in using the scale, you could just move it like this. I have no idea why I keep getting these floating selections. I'm sure there's something I'm doing that's not right. Let's just compare that to the original picture. All right, I need to move it up a little bit, and I think I've darkened it in that image as well. So we're going to move it up. We're going to go to colors. We're going to go down to brightness and contrast. When I find it, there it is. We're going to increase the contrast. Now, this should only work on the layer that we've highlighted, so. All right. And again, it looks like, okay. So if you're watching that particular layer, you can see how the image changes as we go, which is what I was hoping would happen with the dragon. So all I've done is increased the contrast for that one. I'm going to say that that's okay. I'm just going to go down to the dragon again. Cancel that. Go down to Dragon 3. Always select the layer rather than trying to highlight it elsewhere. I'm playing with something here. We're going to see if the color balance is now going to change as I move it. No, that still doesn't thing. Okay, back into here, back into brightness and contrast. We have our dragon layer highlighted. We're going to increase the contrast, excuse me, which will darken the dragon just a little, or a lot, depending on how much contrast you want to use. So there he is, a bit better picked out and a bit more dramatic. And that, I think, so that gives us two elements. And those two elements are just two of the three that we're going to need. So if you've liked what you've seen today, please hit that like button. If you'd like to see more content of that kind, please hit subscribe. And I really look forward to your company again tomorrow for episode 3.